If you are ready, please start your presentation.
I am Vivian Viernes and I am from the Philippines.
I'm Joanna from Vietnam.
From Laos.
I'm Soya from Japan.
And we are Team C, and today we will be presenting our vision for 2040. So, first, to understand what's going on, we'll be giving you statistics. So, in 2017, 400 billion tons of plastic waste was produced worldwide. Next, it takes 500 to 1,000 years for this plastic to degrade and to be eliminated completely. Another thing to note is that currently, 14% of plastics is recycled. And what's worse is that only 1% of that is recycled efficiently. And even worse, 4% of it is lost in the process. And lastly, 50% of the world's total plastic is made in Asia. So, what do you think of that, Soya?
Yes, so as we have seen, hundreds of millions of tons of plastic are dumped, and only tiny fractions of them are recycled. So, turtles and fish are dying, and birds eat plastic, and they die in pain and agony. However, plastic is cheap and useful. We can't live without plastic. Even the microphone that I'm holding is made of plastic. So it all comes down to how we use plastic. So our vision is to make plastic not only cheap and useful, but also environmentally friendly. So we recycle all the plastic we produce. What do you think we can do to make this vision real? Diane?
Okay, so because of all these, we decided to come up with 3Ds. 3Ds is essentially making concepts into realities through redesign 3D printing with plastic. Now, the main tool that we'll be using would be 3D printing. And 3D printing is the process of making an object from a model by laying down thin layers of a specific material. Now, this is an example of a 3D printer, and this is an example of the software and the product that we can use. Now, Mai, what do you think is the concrete target that we'll be achieving?
Okay. Our goal is by 2040, not just 1 or 40, as been said, but from 40 to 60% of plastic will be recycled, with a 50% increase in recycling efficiency. So, for more detail, we have general goal structure. 2 concepts will be used is waste and product. We use waste practice into usable product, and we make product without making waste. So to achieve this goal, so what happened, Carlos?
So to achieve this goal, circular economy must be achieved. To understand circular economy, you must first understand linear economy. What is linear economy? Linear economy philosophy is to take resources and to make that resource into a product, then we dispose it. Isn't that unsustainable? Isn't that wasteful? So for circular economy, instead of disposing those products, we recycle or reuse it into making a new product. What are the plans of actions, Vivian?
Okay, so for 3Ds, our plans of action is composed of 5 major steps. So we want to approach this in 2 ways. The first part is the collection of current plastic that we have, which is mostly non-recyclable. The other way that we can go about it is the creation and collection of alternative plastic. Currently, there are already plant-based plastics that are biodegradable, so that's already one alternative option that we can do. Now, for the collection of current plastic, it goes on ahead to the conversion of the plastic, which can be used as filament for 3D printing, and both of which end up in the invention process, wherein we plan to introduce new 3D printing technologies that are accessible and that is relatively cheap compared to the technologies that are present now. And after putting these 2 together, we come up with the production line. And the production is supposed to make products for the necessities that we can use in our everyday lives. Now, some concrete examples we just like to provide is medicine. For example, in medicine, you can have bioprinting of cells, or you can have even medical tools being printed. Some of these are like parts of the human body for prosthetics. And then another thing is the environment. Some of the corals are already destroyed, so a process they can do is that they 3D print corals as a home for the fish. So it can also be helpful in an environmental aspect. Another thing that you can do with 3D printing is architecture, which focuses more on making houses cheap, affordable, but still sturdy. And in more of the aesthetic aspect, there's also fashion, which makes clothes durable, but at the same time accessible for those areas who don't have enough cloth or who don't have enough fabric. And lastly, automobiles. You can create shells for motorcycles, for cars, and even for trucks. And their 3D printing is relatively durable and much easier compared to the steel and other plastics that we have. Now, in order to achieve this, we have to understand the role of Asia in our different countries. So, Maya?
Okay, first about Philippines and Vietnam. In fact, Philippines and Vietnam are in the top 5 of the most polluted countries in the world in terms of plastic. So, in the future, I think Philippines and Vietnam should have a collaboration in producing plastic for 3D printing for other countries to protect our environment. So, what Laos can do, Carlos?
Laos could act as a collaborator or the bridge between the nations, because Laos has a long history of peace and prosperity. Laos also has a diverse culture, so we have a different points of view, but we accept each other. What are the roles of Japan, Soya?
The role of Japan is to transfer or share its technology to other Asian countries. Japan has one of the finest technology to transfer plastic, one of the finest technology to recycle plastic. So, all Asian countries work together to create sustainable society which uses 3D printing.
And lastly, just to conclude our presentation, I'd like to end you with this quote. When you give a man a fish, you will feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you will feed him for a lifetime. We are 3Ders, and we plan to leave behind not just a product, but we plan to leave behind a legacy. We plan to leave behind a campaign and tools which you guys can all use in order to be part of a sustainable world in society. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and the floor is now open for questions.